Well, Dennis, I want to get to your playing career because it's an amazing career, especially your years with the Caps and the jersey that you're sporting today. But your post career is almost as interesting to me because a lot of guys go through stuff, especially from your generation where you didn't make $90 million or $100 million throughout your career and battling depression. And I've battled that and my family has history with it. I'm going through it right now. I lost my job in August and I'm trying to rediscover myself. How tough?
I think we all,
Yeah,
I think we all are.
yeah, no, it's where the world is. How tough was it post career? And you had some interesting jobs and met some interesting people, but sort of navigating and figuring out, what does my life mean now?
Yeah. Well, I'm getting older, and there's no doubt about that. So I'll be 65 in November. But it's the life that I have right now is I'm living in London, Ontario, and things are good. I've got three beautiful children that are, they got kids and all that. So I got three grandkids. So I'm enjoying life, except for this COVID-19 stuff going on. But I've engaged to a lovely lady here in London, Ontario, and so I moved from Toronto to London.
What about immediately after your career, though?
Oh,
where did that go?
How much time we got? I mean, I went from a lot of different places. So after my career, I started. As a matter of fact, I worked 1 year with the Minnesota North Stars in the advertising side, tickets and all that. And then got out of that, coached high school hockey for 5-6 years in Chaska, Minnesota. And then during that time, I had a job working for a company called Creative Concepts. They were, specialty items company where it was easy for me to get into the doors to talk, try to get some business because of hockey. But I didn't have a lot of doors open. There's no doubt about it. When we were playing, and I know that near the end of my career, that we were told there was going to be some doors opening. I think the only doors that really opened for me that if I wanted to stay involved would have been hockey. If I were scouting or being a coach or whatever like that. But I wanted to get away from it. That's not what I wanted to do. And so it was a struggle. It was a real struggle I went from, jobs to jobs, but, and then I ended up after I got involved with coaching in WPHL, Whipple League, they called it then, with Lake Charles Ice Pirates. And I did a little bit of coaching there, and in Baton Rouge, I coached there with the Kingfish. Just wasn't my cup of tea, I guess, at that point. I had to deal a lot with the agents and lawyers and all that kind of stuff about the players. And, it wasn't my job as a coach, and it was their job to do their job on the ice, and a lot of them weren't doing it. So I just got away from it. There was a lot of BS going involved with that, and got away. And then I moved on to in the casino business. Basically, I've got involved with that, being a supervisor, total reward card supervisor in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I did that, and then I ended up going to Vegas for 6 months, working at Harris and Harris Company, working at Bally's and Paris casinos there. As the same job but more money. So I was down there for 6 months, and then ended up going back and Louisiana, and then ended up going to Aspen, Colorado.
And that's where it seems like, that's where it sounds like you met Goldie Hawn and John Oates, and sort of life went in a weird direction, I would imagine, at that point.
Yes, it certainly did. It was just something. I loved to ski and all that. Was kind of neat. I skied a lot, but got involved with a company there, a good friend of mine who owned it, and I ran the warehouse with high-end furniture and stuff like that. So we deal with all those famous actors and people, delivering furniture and that to them. So yeah, I skied a couple times a week, had a lot of fun there, but there was a lot of negative stuff going on the outside of my life, personal life. So that's probably a lot of it where it started. Yes.
How how bad did it get? Because the story I heard was, and I'm going to butcher some of the facts of it, but you were driving towards a cliff. Yeah, the book, right? And it sounds like it is like a tell-all type of book that you're telling all, because I don't think a lot of people ever think a professional athlete, certainly not a professional athlete who accomplished what you accomplished and scored the amount of goals that you scored, would get to a point where you're driving literally towards a cliff.
Yes. Yeah, I had to put when I did the book, I put the personal stuff in there, and I thought it was important to let people know that it's not all peaches and cream. And as, of course, the title in the book is The Unforgettable Story of Hockey's Forgotten 60-Goal Man. So if you look at that and you read, well, what do you mean? You know, and it is true. There was a lot of things going on, and I guess when you go south, when you hit rock bottom, it's hard to explain to a lot of people that to try to figure this all out. How can anybody with that success and be that way? And I just thought I became a failure as a personal, as my life outside of post career. I thought things just weren't going well for me. And yes, you're right. I got into my car one night, and yeah, I had a few pops, but I decided to drive to Vegas and end my life. I talked to people, my kids, and all that, for personal friends, and I was driving pretty slow and got to Utah in the Grand Canyon, and I just was so tired that I pulled over on just not an exit, just a dirt road, and stopped, and I passed out, and the sunshine woke me up in the morning, and I got out of my car and walked about 5 feet, and if I would another foot, I would have been in down the canyon. So that wasn't where I was going to do it or anything like that. It just that was the scene that would happen. I guess at that moment, a spark or something, or someone was looking after me, and I just said, "What am I doing? You know, what I got a lot more things to do in my life. I got people that love me and care for me, and what am I doing?" So I got in the car and drove back to Aspen, where I was living, and I was living with, as a matter of fact, in the basement of Blake Hall, Bobby Hall's son. And Aspen, we became friends, and I had a job still. I didn't quit my job. I just left, and I had a job, and so I got in the shower and got cleaned up, and knocked on the door, and it was the police. And he said, "Are you Dennis Maruk?" And I go, "Yes." He go, "Are you okay?" I says, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm getting ready to go to work." And he said, "Well, we had a lot of people contact. We've been looking for you, and a lot of people in your family have been looking for you, and they were worried about something was going to happen." I said, "Yeah, it was an experience, but I'm fine now, and I'm getting ready to go to work." He said, "I'm glad you're okay."
That's amazing. So how much did your kids play into that? Because I know when I think about how tough the world is and where I am right now, I look at my baby girls and I gotta be better for them. Whatever is going to be next, it's gotta be all about them. How much did they help you at that time?
Well, I have a son that's be 41. I have a daughter that's be 38, and a daughter that's 32. And my daughter, be 38, Sarah, was probably very instrumental in making me realize how important the word love is. And it took a long time, but she'd call me pretty much every day, making sure that I was okay, and I was working on things personally, and all that kind of stuff. And it took a while, but I would have to say, as you just said, family is very important, and I think they saved my life.
That's great. I mean, that is amazing. And I could see how emotional you are about it.
Yeah,
So I don't,
thanks.
yeah, I don't want to go down any further than
Okay.
that. It's a lot there. But is there a cool Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, John Oates story? I mean, that's like straight out of a movie. That no one just stumbles into a life with celebrities. Except you.
Okay, where I worked at that high-end furniture store, well, the first time it was kind of neat was Goldie Hawn came in, and she wanted to buy something for Kurt. And they have two homes, one like a ranch type home and then a Victorian home, but she wanted this big chandelier think it was like about $30,000 with all horns and all that. But she wanted to put it as the entrance coming in. And so, yeah, it was kind of neat. So she got talking, and she said to me, "Hey, do you know anywhere I can go have a cigarette?" And I said, "Well, there's the side door here where the cars that park where you parked your car. You can go out there and have a cigarette." And she says, "Well, you wouldn't mind coming out with me, would you?" I said, "Sure." So I went out, and at that time I was smoking, and I had a cigarette with her, and kind of, had a bunch of BS with her, and then ended up going and delivering that item she bought, and we put it up. It was pretty hard to get. The three of us did it, and that's where I got to meet Kurt, got to meet goalie, and been over there a few times, and she signed my book to my hockey love, goalie. Yeah, she called me a hockey love, but of course their son was a goalie, right? Who played college hockey and all that, didn't go on. But and then I met so many of those people in Aspen, all these famous actors and really nice people, real down to earth. A lot of people don't know unless you meet them and see them a few times. And with John Oates, he had his wife came in and asked Paul, the owner, my friend, "Is there any of the guys here that work with you can come and help me move 100-year-old farm machinery on my place in Snowmass, Colorado?" And Paul looked at me, and I was saying go, and Paul said, "Well, Dennis is available, he'll come." So that's where I met John, and I went over there and helped him, and he had fired his two Mexican workers that did his landscaping, and asked if I would do it. And I said, "Sure." He said, "You can come over anytime." I had to cut down some dead apple trees, plant new ones, do all the weeding and all that landscaping. So I did that for about a year and a half until I moved back to Toronto. And so I got to meet John, and I wanted to talk to him about music and all that because I love music, and he didn't really want to get into it, So
it's right. It's like if a fan meets you, they're going to want to talk about hockey stories, and you're like, "I talk about this all the time."
I see that, but we had a great time. I mean, I ran into, did a lot of things with him, and it was kind of neat. And then of course meeting Kurt Russell, so I can go on and on about stories about all these people, but that was a job. I mean, he would just he'd say, "How many hours did you work?" I'd go after work and work 3 hours. He would just, if he wasn't there, I'd come the next day or something. He'd just have a check right there on the door for me and all that. Yeah.
That it's so cool because like all of a sudden the world flipped, right? So were you like in awe sometimes? You're like, "Oh my God, that's John, this is Kurt Russell," or is this just your life and you're a professional hockey player? You've met people like this along the way. Like, what was it like when you were sort of entering into their world a little bit?
Well, of course, as an athlete, you run into a lot of people during the time when I was playing, especially in New York or LA, right? You run into those people because where you end up at a bar or you end up somewhere where they're eating dinner or whatever, you run in. But when I moved to Aspen, that's where I ran into so many. I even worked at Kevin Costner's wedding. He had like a 7-day, what do you call that, party, did the Field of Dreams and everything. So I helped him there. All that, and it was just kind of like they're just like natural people. I mean, I think that's where people take them as you hear so many different stories about them, but when you meet these people, and then and the one time when I met Kurt Russell, there's a bar I'd go to every day or every other day, pretty much after I finished working where I lived in Basalt, Colorado. The owner called me. He said, "You got to come down here, meet. There's a guy that you should meet." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'll come down. I could walk the place." So I walk to the place. And he said, "The guy at the end of the table, at the end of the room, going towards the bathroom, you should say hi to him." So I went down there and looked at. I couldn't see. He had his hat on, cowboy hat on, and his head was down. So I went to the bathroom and then came back. And I said, "Excuse me, sir." And he goes, "Yes, can I?" This is you, Kurt Russell? Yeah. He says, I said, "Well, I'm Dennis Maruk. I come here, and I think we have something in common regarding hockey." And he goes, yeah. And then he said, sit down. So, and I mentioned to him about he did a great job with the Miracle on Ice, and Herb Brooks. He was a coach there, and we got talking. In that hour and a half, I sat down and talked. I probably might have said maybe 30 words.
Oh, really?
All he wanted to talk about was hockey. How great you guys are at hockey athletes. How unbelievable strength you have, and how the game is, and what you've got to do as an athlete on the ice. And it was just, I was just overwhelmed, really, that he knew so much about hockey. Man, of course, I knew the family, the Brooks family, and we talked about that and all that. So it was kind of neat. And it was just like, yes, was I overwhelmed? I think at first, yes, meeting these people, but then once you get to talk to them, it's just like they're normal, and they're just nice to chat with. Yeah, that's what it was.
So you knew Herb Brooks. How did Kurt Russell do portraying him?
Oh, he did a great job. Did a fabulous job. There's no doubt about it. You watch the movie or whatever. I know Herb, and as a matter of fact, Herb was my coach in Minnesota when I shattered my kneecap, so I got to know him pretty good. And his son was my Dan was when I played the roller hockey, coach roller hockey. He was one of the partners that owned the team, so I got to know Dan a little bit, and it was just kind of I think Kurt did just a wonderful job of how Herb coached his players, how he taught his players, and how he got them to work and give them their best, as young players.
Yeah, all I hear is again, making him skate.
Yeah.
It was great.
Right.
Great
That's
movie.
exactly right. Yeah, it's like anything else. Do it over and over again, and you get better.
Right. All right. Your career. I mean, here you are, this undersized, I'll use the word undersized player coming into the NHL, a rookie at 20 years old. I mean, you put up 30 goals in your first year, 62 points, follow that up with 28 and 78 points. You're not supposed to come in to a league of grown men and put up numbers like this. How did you do that?
Well, I had a little bit of advice from one former NHL player too, Dave Hutchison, who played with the London Knights too. As my junior team that I played on, and he had already been in the NHL, and we had talked in the summer at a golf event, his golf event, as a matter of fact. And I said, to make it, what do you got to do? What'd you do when you went? And he was kind of a tough guy fighter, and he said, Dennis, you can score goals, you can make assists, you can do all that kind of stuff. You got to be a prick on there. When you go to your team that drafted you, Oakland, he said, you got to go in, you've got to hit their best players, you've got to be aggressive, you got to show them that you want to be there, and you have to continue doing that while you make the team. You've got to continue doing that. And I did that, and it gave me a lot of room, and I was able to use my offensive skills. And as a matter of fact, as you said, when I got drafted, I didn't even get offered a contract. They told me I was going to the minors first, and I had to play. I played an exhibition game against LA Kings, and I played against Marcel Dion a lot in that game because we're both centermen. And I had scored a couple goals and an assist or something. I was the first star, and the GM and the president tapped me on the shoulder, and they said, "Call your agent," who at that time player was Boom Boom Jefferson. You tell him, you call him and tell him that we get back to Oakland, we're going to sign a contract. And I made the team. And as you said, I scored 30 goals, and I think I was second or third voting in the Rookie of the Year. Of course, the great Brian Trottier won it that year, which well deserving, no doubt about it. But I think you look at the team he played on, and you look at the team I played on. California Golden Seals were not a very good team, and he played with the Islanders, had some great players, played with Bossy, and so I had some good numbers, but I think being out in the coast there, I didn't get a lot of recognition as well as the other players did out east.
It's funny because I did the pre and post game shows for the Islanders when they had just drafted John Tavares, so they were still bad at that point. One of their assistant coaches they brought up a kid. I don't remember who it was. And I said, oh, he's a great kid. And he's like, the coach said, yeah, great kid. Got a room full of great kids, all
Yeah.
great kids that you want to introduce to your daughter. And I turned and looked at him. I was like, yeah, you probably need a couple of MFers out there. He goes, we need a bunch of MFers out there. So like that advice of be a prick,
Yeah.
you got to. I mean, that's the way you got to, especially when you're a kid and you're trying to establish yourself.
Yeah, when you post career and you run into these athletes you played against, and I did a show with I'll give you a couple. Bobby Clarke in Toronto. We were doing a charity show or something, and we're on TV, and we're standing outside waiting to go on. And he looked at me and he looked at me and goes, "You're a prick out there."
Thank you.
And that's exactly what he said. Excuse my word. And I looked at him and I go, "Well, you weren't so bad of a prick yourself, you know." And it was like, if people are listening, they're probably going, maybe these two guys going to fight right here. And he said, "No, we have a lot of respect for you." I said, "Well, I appreciate it. Thank you." He says, "Every time you guys played against us, all we did, we had the lineup and all the numbers on the board, and all we did was circle number 21, and we were told to get him. Stop 21." And because I'd scored goals and always had great games against the Flyers because I enjoyed that type of roughness, that aggressive type of game. And I didn't back down from anybody. And I certainly didn't back down from Bobby Clarke. And when you think about it, for him saying that, it gave me a lot of respect for as a hockey player, as a human being.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's the ultimate compliment.
And then Mr. Gretzky, of course, I have a friend in Toronto that meets him and have lunch and dinners and stuff like that. And Wayne's a real statistician type guy. He knows a lot of things about, and not just hockey, sports. And Michael goes, "Wayne, did you score 92 goals? Do you remember who was number 4 and third in scoring in that year with you?" And he said, "Yeah, Dennis Maruk. He was a great hockey player." So, I mean, when you hear things like that, it's pretty special, pretty neat that even though I didn't win a Stanley Cup and I played on some pretty weak teams, then you realize that I did make a name for myself out there. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. I was going to ask you who had the more the thing that resonates more, Bobby Clarke and the missing the front teeth, or you with the Fu Manchu mustache? Because you both had your thing. Right,
exactly. And I did that. I watched. I had a junior though, a little one, but I was watching baseball on TV. Kansas City Royals, a relief pitcher,
Al Hrabowski.
Mad Al Hrabowski.
Yeah.
And he go nuts on the mound, and he had a Fu Manchu. And I says, "I'm gonna stick with that. That's gonna be my mark." And that was kind of what I did. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. So that's what you wanted to look like him, just because he looked insane.
And that's just the way he was. He was intense look. And I said, "Well, geez, yeah, maybe I'll do that." Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. So the 60-goal season that Gretzky talked about. I mean, look, you have this insane. What is it? 20 some odd players in the history of the game that have had 60-goal seasons. You just happen to have it in a season where Bossy had 60 plus and Gretzky had a ridiculous 92 goals. So you are sort of the forgotten 60-goal scorer. But when you're in a zone like that, when you're scoring that much, what is that? Is it literally like what they say in basketball, where the rim seems larger, or the baseball seems like it's a beach ball, or the goal just probably felt like it was from board to board at that point?
Yeah, I think you have to respect your coaches. Who they gave me Brian Murray. They gave me the opportunity to play a lot, power play, and all that. I had 2 great line mates, Ryan Walter and Chris Valentine. We stayed together all year.
How important is that? How important is the chemistry of a line?
Very much so important, because it's just the talent on the other 2 guys. I mean, Ryan was an aggressive left winger, going a corner. I was in the corner with them. Chris had some pretty good hands, and wasn't the fastest skater, but he was really, really good with playmaking and shooting. So we worked on things in practice because we played a lot in the power play. And we had, all 3 of us had our best years as a hockey player, and and I had scored 20 power play goals, and Chris I think might have had 17, and Ryan had 15, but they were up in 35 plus goals as well. So that's a lot of goals in one line, and with a team that not really successful. We were getting close. We just needed, and then they made that big trade, So we were getting better, but it was just fun to be able to. I mean, that year I probably could have had 75, 80 goals. Just the way our line played, the way things were going. And I think we went about 8 games where none of us scored. But Brian Murray kept us lying together. We kept getting chances, but it wasn't going in for us. But that was great. And so I applaud. Yeah, I had to do my thing, but they did their things, and we gelled as a line, and it's very, very important. You look at Drache, Bossy, and Gillies, you're not going to split them up, and stuff like that. They're just, there's no way. So it was pretty successful, and I owe a lot of gratitude and help from those 2 players and the coach.
It's interesting because, the forgotten 60-goal scorer, but what's more forgotten, 60 goals, or the fact that you also had 76 assists that year and 136 points. I mean, that is insane that season, what you were able to produce.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, and a lot of people say I'm a goal scorer, but I'd say I'm a better playmaker than a goal scorer, because I really like setting guys up and stuff like that. So, it was a pretty insane year. I think Bossy and I were fighting out for second place on goal scoring. He had 63, I think it was, and I had 60. But and I had 2 games left, and I could have got a few more goals. I just wasn't able to score. But you have 20 guys to be in that group and be in that year. I've done a couple events where golf tournaments, and the fellow that organized the golf event a few years ago put a big Bristol board, big sign, so they knew who I was, and he put the top 10 scores of that year. And of course, I was number 4, and Gretzky, and then there was Stastny, and there was Bossy, Stastny, and myself, and then underneath was Marcel Dion, Yari Curry, Mark Messier, Dino Ciccarelli, Dennis Hard, and I kind of looked at it and I go, that's some pretty good names in there.
Yeah, you think?
And there's this little kid from Rexdale, Ontario, number 4. So I was proud to do it that year, and of course the All-Star game as well. Being in Washington was a highlight in my career, and it's just one of those things. The years that things just kept going on, and things worked out pretty good.
As you look back on it now, because you scored 50 the year before, so it's not like you had this.
My line mates. You know who my line mates were?
Who?
Well, do you know?
I do not know.
Okay, Bob the Hound Kelly, that came from Philadelphia, and Jean Pronovo, that came from Pittsburgh. They were both traded to our team, and that was I was a young centerman. They were 2 older guys, and Bob had, I think, 24 go ahead. His best year as NHL player, and Prony had 30 something. So we were a good line, but to go 50 and 60, it was in the 2 years. That's a lot of goals, 110, and and then things kind of fell down a little bit. So after that, all that, yeah.
Yeah, you had 50 and 97 points, followed up by 60 and 136 points. That year, though, the 60. Watching Gretzky, because I remember I grew up on Long Island, so I remember when Bossy did 50 and 50, and
right.
I was probably 9 or something at that time, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, Rocket Richard.
Yeah.
And then Gretzky does 50 and 39 games. I think it was the very next season.
Right.
When you're out there, a guy who's gifted, who's had a 50-goal season, who's on his way to a 60-goal season, and you're watching Gretzky give chase to 100 goals and over 200 points. Were you guys back then, when you would just sit and watch him, were you like, oh, he's playing a whole different sport at this point?
Well, you look at his supporting cast. I
Right.
think we're as athletes, hockey players, and you look at who he had and compare the players that I had when I played in Washington, and when I had 60, and he had, Messi, Anderson, Curry, you go Coffee.
Hall of Fame. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. but all productive players. I mean, not like these guys that were 10 goals or they were all productive offensive team. And that's a big, I mean, Gretzky was phenomenal. There's no doubt about it, but he had a great supporting cast. You can't do that with a supporting cast like that. You've got to, for him to get all those assists. I mean, he's a great playmaker, but he had to have those people to score the goals. And in our team, we didn't have a lot of those guys that scored the goals or whatever. The only time that we had a good team, I thought, was when we played them in the mid '80s, the Oilers, when I was with the North Stars. We had a real strong team, and we had a good series in '84, I think it was. We just couldn't. They're just too powerful. Yeah.
When I would talk with Alan May, when I did the shows with him, I think he's been traded the most at trade deadline day. That's his sort of claim to fame. Or maybe someone has passed him now, but he always said about the Caps, players jump from team to team, and that's your team. Those are your guys. But one team generally kind of gets up in your blood and gets up in your bones, and that's just who you always feel like that's who I'm going to be associated with. And for him, it was the Caps, and it's led to a very nice life for him representing the Caps. As you're wearing that jersey and with the years you had in DC, even though the team success wasn't there, what does that jersey mean to you? What do those years here in DC mean to you?
Well, I mean, of course, it was the strongest years of my hockey career. There's no doubt about it. I enjoyed playing for the Caps, and the bigger thing too was the All-Star game, '82 in Landover there, and of course my parents were there, and it was just a special time for that to have my parents be proud of what I did, and being involved, and then being the last one introduced in the game of all the players, and the crowd went nuts. You look back, and those things will be with me till I'm in the ground. There's no doubt about it, because of the support I got from the fans and the people there in Washington, and the staff. Not Ted Leon's, what's
Dave
his
Poland.
name? Dave Poland and Mr. Patrick, and all that. How great they were for me and my family and all that kind of stuff. So, those things will always be there. And then of course, now the new Caps, and meeting Ovi and talking to him about the goal scoring. And he said that, he says, I beat your record, but I won't beat your other record. You'll have that. No one's going to beat the 136 points. No one's going to beat 76 assists, and I won't do it. So those things, when you hear that Washington is a very special place and will always be in my heart. And yes, they're number one team I cheer for. I do cheer for Toronto because I grew up as a kid in Toronto and wanted to play for the Maple Leafs. But Capitals are the team of mine. Yeah, if I ever get inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame, that would be my team, the Capitals. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with the picture of Ovi behind me when he held the cup up during the parade. And what did that mean to you when your team finally won the Stanley Cup? And what does it mean, the respect that Ovi clearly gives you as you've met him over the years now?
Well, when I was there for the fourth game, and a friend from here in Toronto, we went down there, and he said, I got tickets and a place to stay, and we'll take the charter plane and we'll go to Vegas for the fifth game. I said, well, no, I think they'll win it at home in 6. They'll lose in Vegas. They'll win at home in 6. And I had it all set up with my grandson, who is an OV fan, and named his fish Ovi and all that kind of stuff. And my son, it was a surprise visit. They had to cancel because we were going to go to the game. We're going to DC for the 6th game. So, but we made it next year. He was able to meet up in Minneapolis. That's where they live. But they went to practice, and my grandson got to meet all the players and OV, and it was all set up through the Caps. And It was really a special day. It was his birthday, his 8th birthday. So it's pretty neat. But those things about scoring records and all that, they're made to be broken. There's no doubt about it. And to have a connection to one of the greatest goal scorers in the game today, Alex is pretty special in my mind. So when I go down there and see the games, I usually run into him depending on his schedule and his situation, and I'll go down after the game or something like that. But I don't make it too. I'm a modest guy, really. I don't. A lot of people say, "Well, you were a hockey player." You look like a musician, because I wear hats and I dress up and I have a fedora on or something like that, and I'm short. And the guy, he goes to the board and I go, "Well, where's your instrument?" I said, "No, I was a hockey player." Yeah. So, all those things. So, it's been the personal life is a lot better now. There's no doubt about it. Kind of semi-retired, and I still skate and play, even though the COVID's not stopped all that. I do probably about 50, 60 games and charity events. I do a lot for Easter Seals. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. That's always important, because to see you out there is big for anyone. Do you ever think, and I think I read someone in maybe the forward of your book said if he had scored 60 goals as a member of the Maple Leafs, forget it. It would have lived on forever. There would be no book about the forgotten 60-goal scorer. You ever think about if you had played in your hometown and what that could have been like?
Well, yeah. Of course. even scoring 60 goals in today's game, if I did that, I'd have a few bucks in the bank. But I was, it was my time. It was during our time, and all that kind of stuff. So you just look at it and you move on. I mean, I don't get I don't get down about it. I got more people say you should be in the Hall of Fame. You should be in the Hall of Fame. Hey, if that ever happens, great. I'll be so excited and so thrilled, and I'd be very proud. Yeah, but we'll see what happens.
356 career goals, 878 career points, and 888 career games. Just about a point a game player. Man, I hope that happens for you. Your story is fascinating. 60 goals, 136 point season. If Ovi's saying that's never going to get topped, that is something. I really
special thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do appreciate you taking some time out, and it was nice meeting you.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day. Stay safe.